As we go into 2013, it's a time for strategic innovation, expansion, rebanding, repositioning, and most of all, just the notion of growth, never giving up on the concept of going after that double-digit growth. It requires vision and foresight, a lot of planning, and I've got a guy I want to introduce you to today who got that a little over a year ago. He's done some incredible things in terms of expanding his already very successful firm. His name is Mr. Bill Piper. He's here in Omaha with Epic Connections. I want a special round of applause for this man, Mr. Bill Piper, ladies and gentlemen. He'll teach you something. You'll learn from this guy right here. Hey, Bill.
Hey, Gary.
Good to see you, bud. All right. Now, Mr. Piper, you're a customer service expert. You've been in the in customer service and customer care industry how long?
16 years.
16 years. And your firm, Epic Connections, has been around, what, 8 or 10?
10 years, actually, next month.
Yeah, yeah. Now, why don't you explain, up until about a year and a half ago, tell us how you envisioned or described what Epic Connections was, if you don't mind. What was it at that time?
Up until a year ago, Epic Connections was primarily focused on business process outsourcing advisory services.
All right.
Especially in the customer contact industry. So those that were interested in customer contact and outsourcing of those services.
That's right.
Domestically, nearshore, offshore, we assisted them and advised them in the selection of the providers that they used.
So you were kind of a go-between in a way. If a company wanted to have intensify its customer care or maybe lower costs or whatever, they would come to you.
Yes.
Because you're experienced veterans in the business. And you have what, 100, 175 customer call centers really around the world that you kind of work with, is that it?
Yes, that's correct. Lynn, we screen about 175 contact centers on an annual basis to ensure that when we recommend them to our clients, that they will stand up to the services and our recommendation.
Okay.
So that screening process allows us to provide what we call a reverse RFP process. Okay. So rather than have a company go out and send out 30 RFIs, shortlist it to 10 RFPs, then shortlist it to 6, and then shortlist it again to 3.
It takes a lot of time.
It takes months to do that.
And sometimes they have to get in an airplane and fly around the world and meet all these different call centers and screen them and get to know them, right?
Exactly. And what we did is we shortened that process to weeks. Yes. Rather than months. Because we had all the screening already done, it was very easy once we understood their requirements to align them with the contact center partner whose core competencies aligned well and matched.
So there's a matching process, which of course is the essence of marketing, matching needs and so on. But you also, have, in so doing, you saved enormous amounts of time.
That's correct.
Like 50 to 60, 70% of their total search time?
That's correct. Oh, again, from 6 months to about 6 weeks.
Okay, so that's a formidable value proposition. But you didn't settle there, did you?
No.
What was the turning point, or what happened where you said, you know, we're gonna do something a little different strategically to try to grow our business? Explain it in your words.
We were totally focused on just the outsourcing portion of our industry, which, if you read the trade magazines, it's about 20% of the contact centers are outsourced. So we were really only focused on 20% of the market. And of that 20% of the market, 20% of those were companies that we could assist. So really we were only totally focused on 4% of the market.
So this is a key insight. You defined what you did. You were very focused and clear about your core capability, but it was limiting in the sense you couldn't play in a very large sandbox, could you?
That is correct.
Yeah,
so when we contacted a company that said, we do not outsource, we have no intention of outsourcing, we had nothing.
Game over.
We had nothing to say to them.
Yeah, yeah.
So we decided that we had the knowledge and the resources to be able to assist that 80% of the market with our knowledge and consulting services. So we decided to move into consulting.
Yes, now that's very interesting. That's a big leap in some ways, because you've gone from a kind of a value-added transactional model,
yes,
which uses that gateway or switchboard business model, to a broader, more consultative information as value-added kind of a thing, right?
That is correct. So we went from being mostly tactical to now strategic.
Becoming strategic advisors.
Yes, that's correct.
So the name of your company is Epic Connections. You took that core word, epic, which is interestingly popular in pop culture these days. Mm-hmm. Pizza Hut is bragging about their epic offer on pizza. That's an interesting word.
Right.
So, so then what? So there was some branding or some role. How did you say, hey, we're a consulting firm? That's the end of it. What happened then?
Well, we decided that when we looked at the total market, the 100% of the market, well, there was really 5 areas that we could concentrate on.
Okay.
One of which was outsourcing. One was strategic consulting. The other thing, when someone decided to make a decision, operationally or technology-wise,
Yes.
or outsourcing,
Yes.
they needed assistance and resources in that transformation. So we launched Epic Launch.
Kind of a ramp-up
Yes.
service.
So
you launched Epic Launch.
We gave them the resources and the project management in order to launch this new service.
Kind of a specialty version of the consulting piece.
Exactly.
All right, and then so that's
So
3.
that was 3. Number 4, once it was launched, we helped our client through managed services in managing the performance of the outsourcer.
Of the entire call center.
Exactly.
So it'd be almost like being a property manager in a way for a very large facility with all these people running around. And so you're doing that remotely from your offices in Omaha.
That's correct.
Wow.
And we're calling that Epic Performance.
Well, I think there's a lot of organizations that might appreciate that. And then what would be the 5th component?
The 5th leg is where everybody wants to go today.
Yeah.
And that is because the consumer is becoming more mobile.
Yes.
And more social. Our organizations that we work with need to implement the technology and the operations to assist in these consumers, these mobile consumers.
Right.
In
the smartphone users and the tablet guys.
Exactly.
And they're pressuring the customer service organizations. That's a different deal. It's a new channel. How do you take care of somebody on the phone when you're getting texts over here and you're monitoring social media, right?
That's correct.
Are you doing that as well?
We are.
So you're handling that as well.
That's correct.
It's a very complex arena. So what do you call that, by the way?
Epic Somo.
Somo, I love that word. That's a fantastic. So you've got 5 divisions right now.
That is correct.
And you really can really service every aspect of the massive customer care industry.
That is correct. And a year ago, we had 1.
How about it for ladies and gentlemen for this? Huh? Bill Piper from Epic Connections. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Lynn.
Great plan, great vision. We'll be right back with our next guest. Thanks. Thanks for joining me here on WowBiz Weekly. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker, the founder and developer of WowBizTV.com. And while you're watching these shows, there's more to the WowBiz platform, incidentally. You might want to check out the educational interviews, talk to the real, listen to the thought leaders, rather, on the Inside Scoop videos. They'll tell you everything you need to know about every possible purchase consideration. WowBiz Inside Scoop. It's on this website, as well as, of course, this local news magazine right here serving the Omaha business community. My next guest is an entrepreneur, and she's in the fast-track fashion industry. We have a lot of entrepreneurs in the audience right here at Hickson Lead Auditorium at Creighton University, so it's a special pleasure to welcome Miss Angela Lee, ladies and gentlemen, right here. Hi, Angela. How are you, dear? Great to see you.
Thank you.
You bet. Scooch right up here.
Okay.
Now, did you bring your product with you?
I brought you a host gift, no pun
I
intended,
can't
but
wait.
it's hunter orange, so it should match your hunting license and camo.
Yes, and it kind of goes along with the WowBiz branding.
It
We have a little bit of
does, your
orange
branding.
here. Now, why don't you take this apart while we chat briefly, okay?
Okay.
Because I want to see the product. I think everybody does. I'm going to
Absolutely.
explain. Angela used to be associated, is this true, with Strictly Business, right?
Yes.
Part of a business publication, and she's gone out on her own. Did you have a clever, big idea and say, hey, if we put this functional feature into a fashion item, we might actually have something big? Is that what you said, or was there somebody else that said, honey, I got an idea?
Yeah. Actually, no. It was kind of just a lightning strike that kind of hit.
It really was?
It was.
It was an
and
epiphany, a lightning bolt
It was.
coming from out of the sky.
It did.
It happens to me while I'm sleeping or dreaming. Did it happen to you that way?
You know, I was actually at home. I had a frustration. I travel a lot, and I'm always trying to carry more than I can and extra bags. And
You know, that's a psychological problem, but we won't get into
I know,
that.
I know, the pack rat in me, I guess. And you know, I'd also been down at a Husker game and didn't want to carry a purse, and
Right,
so I put my phone in my back pocket, and it had fallen out, and I...
So that's what was the catalyst for this realization,
Yeah.
the losing the smartphone, which
Right.
many of us have gone through. It's terrible. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
And so anyway,
the problem had touched you emotionally.
frustrated.
Yes.
I started looking for kind of an alternative, so I had searched online, went to travel magazines, travel sites, and I just...
And what were you searching for at this moment?
Something fashionable that could conceal my products, that I needed to carry, such as a
Okay.
phone and wallet.
All right.
But most of them were, kind of the drab, or they go underneath your clothes, so it's not really professional to reach.
So they lack flair.
Right.
You didn't want to reach inside of your undergarments to find your smartphone.
Business card or
Right.
whatever.
All right. I'm with you so far. All right. So you had a problem. It was emotional. It was big enough that you said, I need a solution. You're looking out there. You didn't see any clear cut. All the solutions that were there didn't really get the job done.
Right.
All right.
Exactly.
So here we go. I want you guys to be the lightning bolt, the realization, the huge insight. So when I lift my left hand, that'll be symbolic of there's a lightning bolt's going to hit, all right? So go ahead, Angela. I'm sorry to...
So with frustration, and I'm all about encouraging entrepreneurs, and so I just want to show you kind of where I've started and what I've come from. So I went to Mangelson's and bought a $20 sewing machine. I'd never sewed a day in my life. And I made
You've
my
never
first,
sewn before.
No, and I made my first prototype. So
Looks
this
like a
is
baggy
it.
pair of shorts here, girl. I don't know.
It kind of does, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But the vision has now grown into, I'll just show you here, which you probably don't even realize.
I don't even realize what I'm looking at.
I've got
here.
my wallet, and I've got
Right
my
now.
cell phone.
Right now. This would be the moment, right? Outstanding.
Exactly. So really.
Do you mind if I touch this here?
No,
It's kind
absolutely.
It's very beautiful.
Yes,
Very,
and so
it's
it
good.
actually, what it is.
And I would have never thought about, I don't see the
Yeah, you really
the
don't. You
lining
just-
doesn't stick out or anything
No,
like
you just
that.
kind of adjust
But if
it.
it's heavy, like if I had a wall or something, that would kind of pull it down a little bit.
Well, I've got my phone and my
You've got your
wallet.
phone. It doesn't look like there's anything.
Yeah.
Okay, so keep going.
So anyway, so the development phase started as I showed, and just kind of one thing led to another, and we found out that it could actually convert into itself. So it then becomes a scarf.
This is magical in some
They-
kind of a way. I feel like I'm part of a theater performance right now.
So there's plenty of room inside, and we put a
Wait a
reversible
minute.
zipper.
Do that again. Flip
Okay.
this in and out. I missed the. This is great.
So it's all one piece.
Outstanding.
And,
Well designed, Angela.
Thank you. And then if you don't want to wear it, you can just put your stuff back inside. But we ran into lots of learning. How do you get this across? How do you let people know what it does? And we went through a line of different packaging, and
Sure.
so currently we've got the clear packaging. I've kind of walked through ways to show it. Just
And you've got a manufacturing plant in China?
we do. We manufacture in China.
All right, let's get down to the bottom line since this interview is wrapping up, and there's so many questions I'd like to ask. How did you find a plant in China?
Again, back to networking, I think that's kind of a valuable lesson, is meeting as many people as you can, and just kind of by fate through the magazine, I had met somebody, we were talking about construction, of all things, ended up women in business and how proud he was of his wife. So my curious mind had asked, what she does, and found out that she manufactures over in China. And I said, well, I have an idea, kind of prototyping stage, and had her sign a non-disclosure agreement, which is another thing. If you have ideas, make sure you protect them.
Yep.
And she loved it, and we just kind of partnered up, and I got to go over to China actually and pick out my first round of fabrics.
How exciting.
Yeah.
How exciting for you. Now, in terms of financing, do you have a backer? Did you have to just kind of pull something together to try to contract with these people?
Yeah, just kind of pulled something together, had parents that kind of helped get
Cobbled.
the initial seed money
Sure.
together, and
Good for you.
now kind of poising ourselves to maybe bring on an investor.
Outstanding. You know what I call you? I've got a word for you. It's a word that speaks to this product, all right, which is fusion, right? Because you fuse together fashion and functionality. And then you add the ARY, like a visionary, you'd be a fusionary. You like this word?
I like it.
Because you see the world is coming towards you,
Right.
and you pull two things together to exploit an emerging trend that is coming right here, ladies and gentlemen, right here for Angela Lee. How about it, ladies and gentlemen? My fusionary guest was Shoulder, right?
Shoulder.
Thank you so much.
Yes.
You know, with the Obama administration coming back in for the second term, there's a new level of attention and energy being focused on environmentalism and clean energy. A lot of discussion about climate change and what is the responsibility of each of us individually as well as the business community. It's a very interesting and controversial topic. I've got a gentleman here that you will not believe. His name is Brian Melledge. He's from Auburn, Nebraska. I've been involved with him off and on for a number of years, and he's put together a carbon offset website. So if you feel your conscience knows and is telling you that you're polluting every time you jump in the car and drive around, you want to offset that carbon pollution and the contribution to greenhouse gases, you now have an option. It's a responsible choice that every one of us has to make, and this gentleman is facilitating it, and he's from Nebraska, a one-of-a-kind guy. Please welcome my good friend now, Mr. Brian Melledge, ladies and gentlemen. Right here, right here. So glad to see you, bud. Thanks for coming all the way up from Auburn. It's a drive, it's a very cold day, and it's a pleasure to have you. Thank you for joining me. Tell me now, what is a carbon credit or a carbon offset? I think that's the first thing a lot of people aren't fully, regardless of should we do it or should not, let's just talk about what it means to purchase or invest in a carbon offset.
The technical term for a carbon offset is a metric ton of CO2.
A metric ton of CO2.
Which is 2,200 pounds.
Okay, 2,200 pounds.
It's a global idea, so it's all done in metric measurements.
All right, all right.
To purchase a carbon offset, you have asked to offset your personal carbon emissions. And if you make a carbon offset purchase, you're offsetting 2,200 pounds of carbon CO2 that you have put into the ozone.
Okay, so let's say, for instance, those of us in Omaha, Nebraska, we leave Creighton University, we drive to Lincoln, for instance, spend maybe 45 minutes or an hour on the road. What would a typical used vehicle emit insofar as pollution, driving there and back? Is that something somebody would say, okay, I want to offset my, my carbon footprint that I created today?
That's a very good thing. The average purchase of a carbon offset in the United States revolves around about $20.
$20?
A gallon of gas that is burned from old carbon fuels. That carbon then is emitted into the ozone. It latches onto 2 molecules of oxygen. There is 14 pounds of CO2 in every gallon of gas.
14 pounds of CO2 in every gallon of gas.
So drive from here to, here to Lincoln, you would, burn maybe, 10 gallons of gas. The math's pretty easy.
Okay. Now, you have a carbon offset website.
Correct.
It's called C-.
Correct.
Very interesting word. I'm assuming that C means carbon, so minus means taking carbon out.
Yep.
All right, very interesting name. And so what's the purpose and the point of C-? How do they go to a website then, and what do they do? What's the procedure?
I think
if they feel conscionable that they want to do this.
In the United States, the carbon market is a voluntary market. In Europe, it is a mandatory market.
Yes.
As of January 1, California now is the first state in the union that has a cap and trade. So we do have it in the United States now. But
is that right?
Yes.
I thought the sentiment was profoundly against cap, so it's a state-related issue now. It's
state-related, and it was also voted in by the public, and the people of California voted for this and put it into law.
Wow, that's good news. Okay, so continuing, that's very interesting.
The voluntary market in America, a person has to feel that personal responsibility to move forward to do this.
Yeah, they don't have to do it.
There is not anything that says you have to do it as of yet.
Okay, very interesting.
So a person feels that there's a responsibility he wants to do something for the environment, he wants to be that person that makes a difference. He wants to think globally, but he's going to act locally. And to do that, he needs to do something. C- gives a person that opportunity to make that transition from going, I don't know how I can do something for the environment, now I have a way to do it.
So they have maybe a positive attraction to the environmental movement,
Correct.
But they don't really know how to do anything tangible that makes a difference. Now, how does it really make a difference? In other words, the $20 offsets the carbon footprint, goes to Brian Melledge in Auburn, Nebraska. All right. Now, what are you going to do with that money?
The money we're going to do and what we would like to set up, and the word sustainability comes to play, we have to get sustainability not our food, our water, but our energy.
Yeah.
And energy, we feel, in the future will turn from a centralized large plants burning coal or natural gas to what we would call distributed energy, which is locally and smaller, and it's near where we're going to use it. C- would like to set up a funding mechanism to help people that would like to get into that.
Okay.
Say a business or a farm would like to purchase a solar or a wind turbine to produce electricity for themselves. The carbon offset money coming in from the purchases done voluntarily by
The
individuals.
investments in the carbon offsets, the $20 here and $20 there.
Yes.
Going to go through your firm, C-.
Yes.
And what are you going to do with it? You're going to set up alternative energy small businesses around the country? Or
Nope,
what?
they won't be small businesses. It will be a funding pool of money then people can tap into to purchase and to then build their own renewable energy system.
Wow. And tell us a little bit before we wrap up here, the thing with the soil and paying farmers to not turn and till the soil. This is fascinating.
The carbon has to come from somewhere. It's just like the currency system. You have to back up that currency. Our carbon offsets will be backed up by carbon that we'll purchase from farmers doing certain practices.
Okay.
We're going to be purchasing carbon that is sequestered in the soil underneath grassland.
Okay.
Grassland,
and there's a lot of that in the state of Nebraska.
There's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Mother Nature has figured out this a long time ago, that the carbon that we get from the ozone through photosynthesis becomes carbon in the soil, the biomass or the tilth in the soil, which can improve soil, the quality of the soil.
Yeah.
It improves water quality, soil quality, so we're doing something improving, and now we're paying a farmer to hold and keep grass on his ground, therefore improving the soil and capturing carbon.
You know who I wish was here? Beverly Crocker from the Ethics Alliance. It'd be a very interesting discussion to have. Is this ethical to not till the soil? Right? Very interesting, because you have some strong opinions either way about what truly represents integrity, what the really the highest notion really is in this context. Fascinating business. Brian Mellinger from Auburn, C- is almost launched as a website.
Correct.
And you are a gentleman of integrity, and I respect you greatly, so I wish you the greatest success in this venture. It's a very interesting thing. Make a difference with Mr. Brian Mellinger. How about a round of applause? The C-. Got Andy Greenberg coming up, ladies and gentlemen. Don't go away. We'll see you soon. Thanks. Welcome back to WowBiz Weekly. I'm Lynn Hinderrocker, and you are watching WowBiz TV. This is a one-of-a-kind video platform. It's about thought leadership. It's about news distribution. It's about sharing. It's about content. It's about insight. That's right. And I have got an insightful guest for you, ladies and gentlemen. He's been with me on WowBiz a number of times. He's a veteran. He's always got an off-the-wall but to-the-point perspective on all the things that we discuss as we talk about 2013, building your business. Please welcome my good friend and a friend of WowBiz, Mr. Andy Greenberg, right here.
Thank you. Good to see you.
I could have gone on and on.
Good to see you.
Every time you're with me, I add a little chapter to the introductory, the prelude.
Yes.
You know what I'm saying?
I do.
And sometimes I have so much fun talking about you, it's more fun doing that than actually talking to you.
Well,
what do you think about that?
I appreciate that.
Now,
I want to congratulate you on the progress of WowBiz.
Well,
fantastic. Big round of applause. It's a dream.
It's a dream.
And it's coming true for you.
And we're moving forward thanks to Creighton University and the business school and Dean Hendrickson and all these good, hardworking young folks that jump into a room and just say, what now, Hinderrocker? Right? And we go. Listen, this has been an eclectic combination. We've talked about organizational development.
Right.
We've talked about the green movement, environmentalism.
Right.
We've talked about fashion and functionality and fusionaries.
Right.
Cool new word.
Great word.
Don't forget about that word. And, there's just a lot going on. Customer service, I know you're a guru there.
Yes.
You nailed that a few months ago.
Yes, we did.
So what do you think about today's show, and what should we pontificate about here today?
Well, when in the introduction, you said building business.
Building business.
And what we did today was we actually built people. Because what you were talking about was everybody as an individual beginning to build. You take Angela. She built herself from one individual running a magazine to now a national and very soon to be international entrepreneur. We talked about passion earlier, and it is interesting for students. When you have the passion in your work, you will get the A's. When you have passion in business, you will grow that business. Someone said earlier about people on the bus. Now, there are two ways to have people on a bus. The first one, everybody sleeps.
Ah.
The second part of the bus
trip... And
the
world goes by.
Exactly. Yes. The second part of the bus trip, everybody looks out the window and says, what if? What if we can do this? What if we can do that? Who's our bus driver? And when we get that involved, as was discussed earlier,
Yes.
that's what builds a business.
Yes.
It's people first.
Yeah, and the ability to recognize opportunity.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
We had talked Bruce Holberman with ProxyBid. He recognized
right.
an opportunity way back when the online auction model, you know,
Right.
didn't exist.
Right.
Now I'm
Right.
sure there were people around him that said, "Come on, Bruce, you've already, you know, why would you want to jump into that? It's a long
Sure.
shot. It's a risk."
Right.
Have
Right.
you taken any risks in your life, Andy?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah?
If you don't take a risk, quite frankly, then nothing happens. And I'll give you an example. How many times have you been in a meeting where somebody says, hey, I want to volunteer? And everybody has their arms crossed.
That's right.
When you have your arms crossed, you are not a risk taker. If you are one of those individuals that raises their hand and said, yes, I don't know what's coming up, but I'm going to take that risk. And that's what building people is all about.
You know, there are people in the audience right now that are listening to us and going, "Yeah, you know, but hey, you know, risk. There's failure. You know, I know a lot of risks. I took a lot of risks. I'm sitting at home right now. There's no money in my bank account,
Right.
and I have failed. So all this nonsense about building and risk is ridiculous because it doesn't necessarily work." What do you tell those people about failure and dealing with failure and transforming lemons into
Sure.
lemonade? Any thoughts about that?
Absolutely. I tell them about the most successful people in the world today who failed.
Yeah.
We all know the story about Kentucky Fried Chicken. We all know the story about Starbucks. That individual went to 65 banks and they all threw him out. Number 66 said, yes, this will work. When we fail, we understand that what we put together the first time didn't work. In the sales profession, we don't get every order. Do we then walk out and say, all right, I failed, I'm changing professions? Of course not. We build ourselves, and that's where I go back to building people. We build ourselves.
Now, what is the catalyst? What is the internal, how do I say it, the mechanism that enables us to absorb the failure, recognize and acknowledge it, and then somehow transform it and elevate us? What is it? Is it the belief system? Is it a new piece of outside information? What is it? I'm getting down to what separates the doers from the non-doers.
Sure. And I'm going to use you as an example. Because you had this dream for WowBiz.
Yes.
Now, did it go very well the first time we met? No, there were a lot of concerns. Did you give up? No. The word is persistence. And the word is understanding what the outcome that you want to be able to generate. And you know that during that outcome, at times, it just won't go exactly the way you planned it.
True.
And that's okay. You come up with contingency plans.
Yeah.
But you never, ever lose sight of that outcome.
Yeah.
And then when you say to yourself, okay, it didn't go well the first time, we're going to do it again. A classical example is traffic jams. You know how when you want to go someplace as a destination, and you're driving, you've got the time you want to get there, and you know what happens to you when you're there. But then all of a sudden, what happens? You have the traffic jam. There are obstacles that are placed in front of you. But what do? Do you say to yourself, no, I'm going to go home, I'm going to go into bed, roll up in a cocoon, and give up? Of course not. You just continue to drive. But in life, the minute you have a failure, that's the first thing that comes to your mind, isn't it?
Yeah.
You say to yourself, uh-oh, it didn't go right. I'm going home, I'm rolling up into bed, I'm going into a cocoon, and I'm giving up. You can't do that.
Yeah, and you know what? I'm going to take it to the next level.
Yes.
All right, let's go all the way to the top.
Yes.
All right, and let's say that the real spin is to see the positive in every negative.
Right.
All right, to see that somehow it doesn't feel right, and we aren't going this way, and it's not unfolding the way I want it to go, and it's a bad deal, but there is a higher perspective.
Right.
And if you could see your life
Right.
in that higher perspective, you would actually see what preceded it and where you're going as a result of
Sure.
your conscious choice at that moment,
Right.
how you're going to react.
Right. And
that point of leverage.
Yes.
How you're going
Yes.
to react
Yes.
to that obstacle, right?
And I love the way you phrase that because there's an old expression that says everybody should look up. I don't believe that. I believe everybody should look down because once you look down, you're already on top. And it's a complete change in your thought process. So as you go through the development of yourself, as you go through the development of people, what I want you to do is look down. You are the leader. You're in control. You've got that passion
Now,
to make it happen.
there's another way to say this because there are people in the room that go, I don't know about the looking down thing. So I'm going to express another way.
Sure.
Come at it from a different angle, which is detach.
Okay.
Right. To watch, pretend you're at a movie theater in a movie,
Right.
and there I am. There's Andy Greenberg, and he's running into an obstacle or
Right.
resistance, and I'm going to step back here, and I'm the movie reviewer, right?
Right.
And I'm detached
Sure.
from
Sure.
what's happening, and suddenly the emotions drain away, It's a merely neutral observation of what is happening. And no one moment is any better or worse than the previous moment. I'm going all the way to the top now.
And as always, I'm going to challenge you.
Yeah.
Because I don't want people to detach from their emotions.
Ah.
I don't want people to look on the outside losing their emotions of life. Quite the opposite.
Well,
I want you to have that emotion. I want you to feel the failure so that when you succeed, it's even better.
You know, they would say that you're a non-dualistic thinker in Tibet, in India, and so on and so forth. That's what they would say. They would say, feel the pain, feel the suffering, absorb and assimilate all of it, right? And there's another group of people that would say, you know what, just let it all go by. None of it is any better or any worse than what's happening right now. It's all on the big picture. There's nothing really wrong. Failure can actually be success.
And you know who they're talking about? The people on the bus who are asleep.
Okay, Mr. Andy,
talking about.
let's plug your book before we sign off here on this great interview.
Go right ahead. Yep.
All right, Your High, Life-Changing Broadcasts and Podcasts. Right, from Mr. Andy Greenberg, my good friend right here with Wow Biz Weekly. Ladies and gentlemen, please say thank you to Andy Greenberg. So much of a pleasure to have you, buddy.
Always.
Great, fantastic. Thanks very much from Hickson League. We'll see you next time on Wow Biz Weekly. Thanks so very much.